Attention, passengers. This is your co-pilot speaking. Your pilot is black-minded, so you are not going blind and there is no power failure. You are merely experiencing the immense blackness of his proximity, and when you hear his voice, you and the cabin will get even darker than you are currently. We will be cruising at the speed equal to light because the one other thing that travels equally fast is darkness. Your loved ones awaiting your arrival may not recognize you at first sight. This is normal. Simply tell them about the pilot and they will understand. We will taxi to the runway now, so please buckle up and prepare for a high-speed departure. Thank you for choosing Jet Black Airways, where the phrase Jet Black is also a verb. We hope you keep jetting black with us until the wings and the wheels fall off. Justice forever.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some of you and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. I considered doing this as a live, but time is still limited. And I figured, you know what? Just in case my son has any questions, I want to prioritize him and not have to interrupt that availability. So I decided that I'd do this as an upload again, but I don't mind because I didn't get to see him for 2.5 years. And we're down to the last few days, and it's and I'm not looking forward to his departure. On the other hand, I do realize that it brings him closer to the goal of a permanent move outside of the matrix. Inshallah. Those of you in the audience that are Muslim, I ask you to supplicate for his success and for the success of my business, because that is, in fact, his success. I can say that I myself will no longer invest in a business after this one. But that's another talk for another day. I opened this up because I wanted to point out, and I want to thank Cortez for this one. I believe her name is Darby, I think. I forgot the name of the chick in Mississippi that, and I'm saying that sarcastically, but I forgot the name of that mom in Mississippi who had her little snuggly baby in a cart with a trash bag on him and nothing but a pamper and feet sticking out in the frozen food section, putting food on him and then get them in some dude's face and then twerking because she ratchet. But it made everything worse when she got on, I guess it was TikTok, with her ghetto accent and playing these stereotypical, churchified but not sanctified Western hyena bitch. And there is no nicer way to say it. With a smoke alarm going off in the background, she started talking about how people were wrong for donating all this money to the woman that recorded, and how she can't do that to get some gas, and how the lady's blessings were blocked because she recorded it. And what that means is that she's trying to invoke God to uphold the expectation of hyena bitch solidarity she expected from she who recorded her, and then got supported with 40,000 on GoFundMe. Now, I would have a right to complain about this, not because the recording lady that worked for Wal-Mart did anything wrong. No, she did right. I would probably have a right to complain because if I go on GoFundMe and I say, look, I'm just a young black man. Not young. Why did I say young? I'm still used to that. Look, I'm just an old black man trying to get a business started in another third country. It's already started. I'm just trying to get it past a particular point. And I just need about about 1800 US, and that's it. And I get the business past the point. Actually, no, it'd be about $3,000. I just need about $3,000 from everybody together, and then I'd be able to get the sign, finally catch up on teacher salaries, and we'd be good to go. I'm just trying to get something started that's going to leave something for my kids. So imagine that I say that on a GoFundMe, and rightly so, people are going to sit up and say, who is this? This is your business. You started, you invested, you make it work. And they would be right. Now, I could still say, but you all are willing to help out. Why not me? This ratchet Isha mom doesn't have that right to say that. Why can't I go on in and ask for some gas money or something with my weave and my ghetto accent and my stereotypical ways, and then invoking God and Jeeves to avenge me, even though I'm the one that's wrong for the way I had my baby in the Wal-Mart during a cold spell, an abnormal cold spell for that part of the world. I know. Coming from the deep south, Jackson was not a long drive away. Didn't take that long to get there. It don't take forever to get from Jackson to the coast. And you just don't get that sort of weather that far south normally. And then nowadays, it's actually, I haven't spent a winter there in a long time and don't want to, but from what I've been hearing, it's been getting worse. I mean, I think it was February, March of 2021, a freeze went through there, mashed everything up. I'm telling you that anybody would know that that's not the time you go and take your baby with a trash bag on. That's the time that if you take the baby with you, you bundle the baby up. Everyone would understand that. But the main thing I wanted to point out here was not only how stereotypical she acted, but I wanted you all to realize why it is that we need another double standard. See, I said earlier today that we need a double standard. And that double standard is that with Uriah Rogers doing what she did, we point the finger at her and we say, you would rather do this to your babies than to let dad help you raise them. That's what they're trying to do. The sisters insist on sole custody so that they can sit up and say, I'm doing it all by myself. But when the pressure gets to be too much, they will sit up and take risks with the babies' lives, if not outright kill them. Delete them because they ain't going to give them back to daddy. Just out of the fear that daddy might show them up. They know if they lose custody and dad does the job, they're not going to be able to get up there and say, it's all Jermaine's fault. It's always Jermaine's fault. I'm so done. They won't be able to do that because we Jermaine and we prove that it ain't our fault. So I said that we needed this double standard in which we sit up and we say that when these young men go down to Colombia, or these old men go down to Colombia, who are generally not passport bros at these ages, and they get on these dating apps, which many passport bros who are linked up with each other don't actually start doing early on in a new environment. And then they fall victim to the robbers and they wind up gone. What we do is we sit up and we say, well, that is proof positive that America's failing because the men will still continue going even after some of them have died. We flip that. And then when Uriah Ridges puts her kids out in the freezing rain and one of them dies from hypothermia, we still flip that and we say that's because she's the worst in the world. We take accountability for nothing. But you know what, though? This shows another need for a double standard. take no accountability, but give all of it. Hold them to it, but take none for ourselves. What's the reason? Simply put, when you look at Darby, if I got her name right, and you look at her son, and then you look at her actions, notice the father wasn't there, but there's a photograph of her hugged up with a non-black man. Now, considering that it's Mississippi, the chances are that this is a Latin American or he's of Indian origin. That's what that is. He didn't look like he was actually a European. Point is, we wouldn't look and see that this is a brother. I mean, I'm supposed to be pretty good at telling if somebody's got the blood in them. I didn't see it in this man. What I'm saying to you is that these ratchet ishas, when they find that we are being more careful with our seed and that we ain't just shooting anybody's club up, they're going to start turning to others. And they don't always win. They don't always succeed in this and in terms of getting a commitment. But if they can get a conception, they'll go for that. And they actually do. They go for the conception, even without the commitment, even without whatever commitment they would demand from you or me, even against their own religion. That's what this shows you. Serena Williams, anybody? No wonder her dad didn't want her to go to the, no wonder her dad did not want to go to the wedding. I get it. One, she fornicated. She was already pregnant. What the F, man? What does that tell you that she agreed to do with Alexis Ohanian, even though she lost Common and these other black celebrity men that she dated who had more money than Alexis? She lost them because because of what she wouldn't do. And if she had been consistent, I would have sat up and said, well, I mean, she's following the rules. She's being consistent. No, she got with Alexis Ohanian. He ain't got to provide. He ain't got to even protect. She's chasing down phone thieves out of restaurants, not him. He ain't got to do none of that. And then she makes the decision to lay with him without the marriage contract. Then they tie the knot. So the reason why we need more double standards is because we're faced with them. But we're also being shown again and again and again, as Edward Allen Anderson, the Reverend Brother Bishop Pastor Deacon Dr. Hurricane Edward Allen Anderson of the New Greater Zion Valley Precious Lamb. Oh Lord, hold my mule while I shout. Golden Monument of Hope Faith Tabernacle of Red Pill Awareness Incorporated would say, when you are not out there shooting the club up, they're going to find a non-black man do it. If they can get a commitment, they'll take it. If they can't, they'll just go for a conception. And then what they're going to do is they're going to leave us under the assumption that that was our responsibility. And I'm going to tell you this. Sometimes they may be telling the truth, but other times when they have these babies that are looking a bit more ambiguous than they are, I would say start doubting this, that the dad was just a light-skinned brother, because we're not what they're running after. They're not really doing that. If they do come for someone like us, I don't know about the West Coast, but if they do come for someone like us in the southeastern United States, unless things really changed in the decade since I've left, they come for us when things are wrong. And they usually don't. Usually we're the ones over whom they jump. They're going from the stereotypical brother. He's got to look stereotypical too. And then they jump over us to go for Zaddy. We are the ones they jump over. So don't be looking at brothers that look like us, little ambiguous, and saying y'all ain't taking care of your kids. You shooting the club up and running out. That ain't us. Friend of mine from Michigan, kind of an ambiguous looking brother. knocked up a wide lady. Sisters wasn't having it. And the funny thing was, see, for many times, for many of us, we have a better shot with the Wyatts than we do with the sisters, because we could conceivably match up with a Wyatt that has her stuff about as together as we might have our stuff. That's conceivable. When sisters come for us, they come for us when their lives are far worse than ours. A lot of you brothers are facing this without being ambiguous looking. But when you are ambiguous looking, it gets even worse. I know that their lives are not going to be about the same as ours. If you are Huxtable, but you're ambiguous looking, you know that you actually are expected to pay a tax. You know what I'm talking about if you're in that category. Now, somebody else may not know, but you know, you Huxtable, you ain't matching up with no Huxtable sisters. You're considered incapable of competing with either one. Either one of what they want. You can't either extreme. Either the stereotypical idness. Well, that's actually redundant when I say that, because the S in idness stands for stereotype. But it's either that, or of course it's a zaddy. And you really are seen as incapable of competing with either one. So no, these babies that look less pure, if you want to say that. I don't prefer the term, but I'm just saying something that many of you would understand. You see a mom and the baby looks less pure. It usually ain't us, especially if she ain't married. We wouldn't expect to get away with that, no way. No, you already know who that is. We now know. Jose, maybe Gopal or Habib. Habib actually doesn't play that for the most part. Arab men that ain't black ain't trying to get with sisters. That's a rare thing. And when they do, they make inferior, well, they bring inferior quality to the table. When they're willing to match up with a sister, they generally will bring inferior quality to the table. They'll be like, well, I mean, no, I don't make much money. You're not going to get the same Arab guy in the same circumstance that an Arab woman's going to get if you a sister. I'm letting y'all know, and that's how they view it. They actually are more susceptible to ridicule from other men, and other men are likely to ridicule them if they are successful in life and they choose a sister. Yeah. Now, if they're from a big city, they might have the fortitude to say it ain't your business. Fuck to shuck up. That's if they're from a city. But if they're not from a city and someone asks them that, well, you know what? Guess what? They're not going to resist. So they're just not going to go, they're not even going to go through with it. So I'm letting you guys know now, we're going to need these double standards to be brought back, because they're out here laying up, committed or not, laying up with men that ain't black. And then they don't want us to know about that, because then when we see the baby, we will feel some sort of kinship. They know that if we know that they were out here giving it up more easily to these non-black men, that we're going to look and say, okay, well, then the baby's your responsibility. They understand this. They know what they're doing and they're hiding it. Shout out to Senor Conga for mentioning that. They know what they are doing and they hide it. So the stuff that we are now finding out they're doing, they've been aware of. Bring back double standards. We don't owe it to them to be consistent. I mean, we owe it to ourselves, but consistency's out of the window with them as far as that goes. And, we're done with that. because it's never applied back towards us. I shouldn't say never, but it's rarely applied back towards us. They pretty much got their minds made up. If you aren't going to be reckless with your seed, we will find someone else. And since you won't really know with a certainty just by looking at the kid that the dad wasn't one of you, then we're going to turn around and try to guilt trip you and say, see, y'all just be out here skeeting and running. It ain't even us. We had nothing to do with what happened in that Walmart. Not even by virtue of our absence. We weren't even picked. That was not out. We did not conceive, not one of us conceived that baby that was in that store with her. Now the other, I don't know, but the one that was in there freezing was not our conception. And I'm not saying that I have no sympathy for this baby. Of course I do. I'm simply saying that when it comes to accepting a sense of responsibility or guilt, we don't owe that. Not at all. I believe in doing nice things for kids, even when they're not your kids. I believe in doing that. I've done it before. And my children have been well treated by men that were not me. But in terms of a sense of guilt or a sense of responsibility, well, no, in this case, that should not apply to any of us, even the pro-blacks, especially the pro-blacks. Another thing I need to talk to you all about is this notion of not until it's too late. And I think I need to do that in the next one. But I will say, as a sort of teaser, I guess you could say, that this notion of NUITL, or this principle of NUITL, by which many of our people live, men and women. When I say our people, I just mean genetically. But by which many black folks live, men and women, American and non, diasporan and continental. Many of us live by this notion of NUITL, a principle of it, actually. It is a principle. When black folk tell us something and it's going to one day be helpful, we tend to look and say NUITL, not until it's too late. And I'm going to let you know in the next one how even we black men of the black manosphere are going to pay for that, let alone the rest of the black population. But even we will pay. In the meantime, thank you all for listening to this one. And I really mean it when I say I hope it helps you. As always, black heart, black mind, black out. Assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual, non-select male power just because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction of Judgment Day. Thank you all again for flying with us here on Jet Black Airways, where jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us until the wings and the wheels fall off. And before you undock off of this plane at the gate, hit that link and get some of the merchandise. Gender justice forever.